Hi folks, welcome to RJ Impact. Today we're going to be talking about the Duke of York, his relationships with the disgraced Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and the current case brought against him by Virginia Giuffre, née Roberts. I'll first provide a bit of background to the individuals involved, and then we'll look at the build-up to the Giuffre case before examining where the case is at the moment and what might be happening next. This video is intended to be an introduction, and if there appears to be a demand, I'll provide some more detailed videos focusing on different aspects of the affair and how it unravels over the next months and even years. Andrew Albert Christian Edward Windsor, who was born on 19th of February 1960, is no ordinary Andrew. He is none other than Prince Andrew, Duke of York, KG, GCVO, CD, a member of the British royal family, the third child and second son of Queen Elizabeth II, and at the time of publishing this video, ninth in line of succession to the throne. While young, he was educated and looked after by a governess at Buckingham Palace, and at 8 years old he was sent to Heatherdown School near Ascot in Berkshire, England. In September 1973, he entered the prestigious Gordonston School in northern Scotland, and that school has an ethos of focusing on outdoor activities. While there, he spent 6 months in an exchange programme to Lakefield College School in Canada. He left with 3 A-levels in English, History and Economics. He then joined the Royal Navy and became both a helicopter pilot and the captain of a warship. During the Falklands War, which was a war between Argentina and Great Britain over sovereignty of the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic, he flew on multiple missions, including anti-surface warfare, casualty evacuation and Exocet missile decoy. In 1986 he married Sarah Ferguson and was created Duke of York. They separated in 1992 and were divorced in 1996. He finished his active naval career in 2001 and then served as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment for nearly 10 years until July 2011. So far, so royal. At around the end of his time as the Trade Special Representative, we see publicly evidence that points to flaws in his character and the seeds of the trouble he finds himself in today. You could even say the roots of his troubles, of which more later. In 2010, his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, was filmed by a reporter claiming that her former husband, in other words the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, had agreed that if she were to receive £500,000, he would meet the donor and pass on useful top-level business contacts. She was filmed receiving, in cash, a $40,000 down payment. The prince emphatically denied he knew of the situation. Paraphrasing Mandy Rice Davis, well, he would say that, wouldn't he? In July 2011, Sarah stated that her multi-million-pound debts had been cleared due to the intervention of her former husband, whom she compared to a knight on a white charger. The BBC reported in March 2011 that Andrew's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein was producing a steady stream of criticism. We should note here that Epstein had been convicted in 2008 as a sex offender. There's conflicting evidence as to when Andrew first met Jeffrey Epstein. Some say they were introduced by Ghislaine Maxwell in 1999, but other sources say they'd already met in the early 1990s. The Duke was also criticised in the media after Sarah disclosed that the Duke had helped arrange for Epstein to pay off certain debts of hers. He was also photographed in 2010 walking with Epstein in Central Park, New York. After those disclosures, in July 2011, the Duke's role as trade envoy was terminated and he reportedly cut all ties with Epstein. Since at least 2014, the Duke has been connected with allegations of abuse against Virginia Giuffre, née Roberts, and we'll go through that in some more detail later. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Edward Epstein, born in 1953, was an American financier who began his professional life by teaching at the Dalton School in Manhattan, despite lacking a college degree. After his dismissal from the school, he entered the banking and finance sector, working at Bear Stearns in various roles. He eventually started his own firm and developed an elite social circle. He procured many women and children that he and some of his associates went on to sexually abuse. In 2005, police in Florida began investigating Epstein after a parent complained that he had sexually abused her 14-year-old daughter. As a result, he was convicted in 2008 of procuring a child for prostitution and of soliciting a prostitute. He served almost 30 months in custody, although this included significant amounts of work release. He was convicted of only these two crimes as part of a controversial plea deal. Federal officers had identified 36 girls, some as young as 14 years old, whom Epstein had allegedly sexually abused. Epstein was arrested again in 2019 for the sex trafficking of minors. He was found dead in his jail cell in August 2019, and his death was ruled a suicide. Some people have disputed the ruling, and there has been significant public debate about the true cause of his death, resulting in numerous conspiracy theories. Now, Epstein had a long-term association with British socialite Ghislaine Noel Marion Maxwell, which led to a 2021 conviction in the US on charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy. Epstein also maintained long-term relationships with various high-profile individuals, including Donald Trump, Leslie Wexner, Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, and yes, you know, Prince Andrew, Duke of York. Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell was born in 1961 in France. Throughout her childhood, Ghislaine lived with her family in Oxford, England at Headington Hill Hall, a 53-room mansion, where the offices of Pergamon Press, a publishing company run by her father, Robert Maxwell, were also located. She went on to private schools in Oxford and Somerset and earned a degree in modern languages from Balliol College, Oxford, in 1985. Maxwell had a close relationship with her father and was widely credited with being her father's favourite. Ghislaine Maxwell was a prominent member of the London social scene in the 1980s. She founded a women's club named after the original Kit Kat Club and was a director of the Oxford United Football Club during her father's ownership. She also worked at The European, a publication Robert Maxwell had established. In 1986, Robert Maxwell invited her to the naming, in her honour, of his new yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. In November 1991, Robert Maxwell's body was found floating in the sea near the Canary Islands and Lady Ghislaine. Maxwell has since said she believes her father was murdered. Commenting in 1997, he did not commit suicide. That was just not consistent with his character. I think he was murdered. After his death, Robert Maxwell was found to have fraudulently appropriated the pension assets of the Mirror Group newspapers, a company that he ran and in which he held a large share of ownership to support its share price. Ghislaine moved to the United States in 1991 shortly after her father's death, and she quickly rose to wider prominence as a New York City socialite. Maxwell had a romantic relationship with Epstein for several years in the early 1990s, having been introduced to him by her father in the 1980s, and remained closely associated with him for more than 25 years, until his death in 2019. On the 29th of December 2021, Maxwell was convicted in the US of 5 counts relating to the recruiting and grooming of teenage girls for sexual encounters with Epstein. One of these alone, that of sex trafficking of a minor, has up to 65 years maximum sentence. At the time of this video, sentencing has not been passed down, but it looks like she will be spending the rest of her life in prison. Maxwell faces a second criminal trial for perjury on 2 charges that she lied under oath during a civil suit in 2015 about Epstein's abuse of underage girls. It's unclear at this moment whether the prosecution will go ahead. Now that we've taken a look at the 3 main protagonists in this whole sordid affair, let's look at the specific events that will bring things up to date and the current situation the Duke finds himself in. In 2014, a court filing in Florida alleged that Andrew was one of several prominent figures, including lawyer Alan Dershowitz and, in quotes, a former Prime Minister, whose name I've not been able to find, to have participated in sexual activities with a minor who we now know is Virginia Giuffre. She alleges that she was trafficked for sex by Epstein, and while there is no doubt Giuffre was involved with Epstein, there are some inconsistencies in some of her accounts. For example, the age at which she says she was when Epstein first abused her. In 2015, in the face of public pressure to explain Andrew's connection with Epstein, Buckingham Palace stated that, in quotes, "Any suggestion of impropriety with underage minors is categorically untrue," later repeating the denial. Requests from Giuffre's lawyers for a statement from the Duke under oath about the allegations went unanswered. Dershowitz denied the allegations in Giuffre's statement and sought disbarment of the lawyers filing the suit. Those lawyers then sued Dershowitz for defamation, and he countersued. They settled in 2016 for an undisclosed sum. Epstein also sued one of the lawyers for civil racketeering, but later dropped his suit when they then also countersued, and eventually Epstein had to issue a public apology. Giuffre has asserted that she'd had sex with Andrew on 3 occasions. These were on a trip to London in 2001 when she was 17, and in this case she says Epstein paid her $15,000 to have sex with the Duke, in New York, and on Little St. James in the US Virgin Islands. Flight logs have been reviewed which demonstrate that the Duke and Giuffre were both in the places where she alleged the sex happened. In a now infamous photo, Andrew and Giuffre can be seen together with his arm around her waist and Ghislaine Maxwell standing in the background. Andrew and his aides have claimed the photo is fake and edited. Giuffre stated that she was pressured to have sex with the Duke and, in quotes, "I wouldn't have dared object, as Epstein, through contacts, could have had her killed or abducted." In 2015, Judge Kenneth Mara ruled that the sex allegations in the court paper in Florida must be struck from the public record. He said that she may later give evidence when the case comes to court, and Giuffre in turn has stated that she would not be bullied back into silence. Tuan John Alessi, who was Epstein's butler, stated in a deposition he filed for the case of defamation that Giuffre brought against Maxwell that Andrew's visits to the Epstein house in Palm Beach were more frequent than was previously thought. He said that Andrew had, in quotes, "spent weeks with us and received," in quotes again, "daily massages," and this was in or around 2016. In 2019, court documents in the defamation case revealed that a second girl, Joanna Soberg, gave evidence alleging that Andrew had placed his hand on her breast while in Epstein's mansion, while posing for a photo with his spitting image puppet. Andrew then released a statement saying that, "At no stage during the limited time I spent with Epstein did I see, witness or suspect any behaviour of the sort that subsequently led to his arrest and conviction." He also expressed regret for meeting him in 2010 after Epstein had already pleaded guilty to sex crimes for the first time. Also, in 2019, email exchanges were revealed in which John Brockman mentioned seeing a British man nicknamed Andy receiving a foot massage from 2 Russian women at Epstein's New York residence during his last visit to the mansion in 2010. He added that he realised that the recipient of the foot massage was His Royal Highness Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. In November 2021, Epstein's pilot testified in court during Ghislaine's trial that Prince Andrew flew in Epstein's private plane along with other prominent individuals including Bill Clinton, Donald Trump and John Glenn. He stated that he did not notice any sexual activities or wrongdoing on the plane. The following month, a picture of Epstein and Maxwell sitting at a cabin on the Queen's Balmoral estate in around 1999 at the invitation of Andrew was shown to the jury to establish their status as partners. On the 5th of January 2022, former boyfriend of Virginia Giuffre, Anthony Figuera, said on Good Morning Britain that Giuffre had told him Epstein would take her to meet Prince Andrew. Figuera said, "She called me when I was on the trip and she was talking about she knew what they wanted her to do and she was really nervous and scared because she didn't know how to react to it." Figuera alleged the meeting had taken place in London. The Newsnight interview. In 2019, with intense media scrutiny on him, Andrew arranged for an interview with the BBC and presenter Emily Maitlis. This is actually worthy of a commentary video in its own right and was largely deemed a disaster for the Duke due to his apparent lack of empathy for Epstein's victims while making some apparently idiotic excuses for some of the events he recounted. For example, he met Epstein in 1999 through Maxwell. His own secretary says it was in the early 90s. He denied having sex with Giuffre in London, stating that he was at a party at Pizza Express in Woking. He couldn't have been sweaty, as claimed by Giuffre, as he had lost his ability to sweat following an adrenaline overdose in the Falklands War. This was during a meeting they apparently had at Tramp's nightclub in London. He stayed with Epstein for 3 days in 2010, even after Epstein had been found guilty for sex offences against a minor, as it was a, in quotes, convenient place to stay. He'd only met him for the sole purpose of breaking off any future relationship with him. The interview was described as a car crash, a nuclear explosion level bad, and the worst public relations crisis for the royal family since the death of Diana, Prince of Wales. On 20th of November 2019, a statement from Buckingham Palace announced that Andrew was suspending his public duties, in quotes, for the foreseeable future. In January 2020, US Attorney Geoffrey Berman stated that Prince Andrew had provided, in quotes, zero cooperation with prosecutors regarding their ongoing investigations, despite his initial promise in the Newsnight interview when he said that he was willing to help the authorities. In August 2020, anti-child trafficking protesters chanting "paedophile, paedophile," referencing Andrew, gathered outside Birmingham Palace, and videos of the protest went viral. Civil lawsuit. Let's go through the timeline on this to get us up to date on the Prince Andrew Virginia Giuffre case. In August 2021, Virginia Giuffre sued Prince Andrew in federal court, New York, accusing him of sexual assault and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Giuffre's lawyers alleged Andrew caused her emotional distress, which was severe and lasting. The lawsuit is seeking unspecified damages. To get the case started, there were lots of toing and froings in the months up to the end of 2021 trying to get papers served on Andrew. An affidavit filed by Giuffre's lawyers with the US courts stated that paperwork for Giuffre's lawsuit had been left with an office of the Metropolitan Police at Andrew's home at the Royal Lodge, Windsor in August 2021. Andrew's legal team then denied documents were legally served. In September 2021, lawyers for Giuffre stated that papers had been served to and received by Andrew's attorney in Los Angeles, giving the Duke a deadline to file a response to court by October 2021 or face a default judgment. In late September 2021, it was reported that a clubber who had claimed she had seen the Duke with Giuffre at the Trump nightclub had given a written statement to the FBI and would testify against him, although she stated that she could remember the year but not the exact date. Also in September 2021, it was reported that the Queen would use her income from the Duchy of Lancaster private estate to pay for her son's defence. In October 2021, the Metropolitan Police announced that they had completed their review into documents related to the allegations and after questioning Giuffre had decided to drop their investigation. Despite this, the United States authorities say they may still prosecute Andrew and he may still be liable for extradition. On the 25th of October 2021, Judge Kaplan announced that depositions for the case must be submitted by the 14th of July 2022. Now at this point, Andrew and Giuffre are both expected to make statements and face cross-examination under oath. Also, in October 2021, Andrew's lawyers filed a response stating that their client unequivocally denies Giuffre's false allegations. They accused Giuffre of profiting from her claims, in quotes, at his expense and at the expense of those closest to him, and asked a US judge to dismiss the lawsuit according to a sealed document reached between Epstein and Giuffre in 2009, which could absolve Epstein, Andrew, and numerous other people from any and all liability. In October 2021, lawyers representing Andrew petitioned a New York judge to keep the 2009 legal arrangement between Giuffre and Epstein sealed. In December 2021, US District Judge Loretta Preska said that unless Epstein's estate made a valid objection, the document should be published. In late December 2021, Andrew's lawyer tried to get the case thrown out, arguing that Giuffre was resident in Australia rather than in the United States. Giuffre's lawyers insisted she lives in Colorado, where her mother also lives, and pointed out she is registered to vote there. In a court filing, Giuffre's lawyers accused Prince Andrew's lawyers of trying to halt her lawsuit in a transparent attempt to delay discovery into his own documents and testimony. Judge Kaplan then rejected the claim that Giuffre no longer lives in the United States, and also noted Andrew's lawyers had asked for vast numbers of documents from Giuffre's team, including evidence as to where she lived. In the same month, Andrew's lawyers filed another motion to dismiss the case, arguing that Giuffre was of the age of consent at the time, which is 17 for New York, and describing her account on consenting as highly subjective. On 29th of December 2021, Ghislaine's conviction enabled Giuffre's lawyers to maintain in her case against Prince Andrew that it is beyond reasonable doubt Maxwell helped Epstein's abuse. Giuffre's lawyers have asked Andrew to give medical evidence that he cannot sweat following his statement to that effect in his 2019 Newsnight interview. Giuffre's lawyers reportedly claim up to 6 witnesses who can link Andrew to Giuffre. The 2009 settlement between Giuffre and Epstein was eventually published on the 3rd of January 2022 and shows that Giuffre had received $500,000 in her lawsuit against Epstein. The settlement states that upon receipt of the sum, Giuffre agreed to remiss, release, acquit, satisfy and forever discharge the said second parties and any other person or entity who could have been included as a potential defendant from all and all manner of action and actions of Virginia Roberts, including state or federal cause and causes of action. Giuffre's legal team argued that the terms of the settlement were irrelevant to her case against Andrew, and on the 4th of January 2022, lawyers for both sides argued in court whether the case should go ahead. During the hearing, Judge Kaplan said, "The use of the word potential is the use of a word to which neither you nor I can find any meaning at all," adding that only Epstein himself would have been able to explain his view on the meaning of potential defendants mentioned in his settlement with Giuffre. Each side is expected to take between 8 and 12 depositions while the decision is being made. Also in the hearing, the Duke's lawyer Andrew Brettler said that by entering into the agreement, Giuffre intended to release a broad category of individuals, including royalty. A feisty judge, Lewis Kaplan, appeared not to be too convinced by this. "Including the Sultan of Brunei?" he quipped. As you can see at the date of publishing this video in early January 2022, things have been moving very fast with this case over the past few months. The date set by the judge for depositions to be entered is July 2022, so I expect things will quieten down for the next 4 to 5 months, but as you'll have seen in this case, there may be more revelations to come before that. There are actually a couple of options that Andrew could take to avoid a trial. One could be to try to settle with Giuffre directly with the secrecy that would follow that, and a second approach could be to just accept a default judgment with the court deciding on damages. This would then leave Giuffre to try and collect the money from Andrew directly. Well, that's it. Quite a lot of facts and dates, but hopefully brings things up to date. If you'd like to hear more about a specific aspect of the case or a deeper dive into any elements of background, just let me know in the comments below. If you subscribe and hit the notification button, then you won't miss out on any future videos when they are published. Bye for now.